Conference USA Media Day from Frisco, Texas. We're inside the Baylor Scott & White Performance Center. Right across the street is the Star, where the Dallas Cowboys have their practice facility and world headquarters. I'm Ron Thulin. Turn our attention now to FAU. And joining us, another new member of the coaching clan of Conference USA, Dusty May. Dusty, good to have you here.
It's great to be here.
And one of the veterans. You said I got to defer to the veteran, right?
Yes.
Jim Jaber, the head women's coach at FAU. Jim, I want to talk to you. Last season was a tough season. You had 2 ACLs. You had to overcome a lot of adversity. How proud were you of the ladies last season?
Well, I was, with everything you'd mentioned, I'm very proud of the turnaround we had. I think it was the 4th best turnaround in the country. Went from 4 wins to 13, I think, so I was happy with the progress we made, but obviously not satisfied. We got a lot of work to do.
Well, one of the quotes I saw from this year since the practice has started, you said your team's really working hard. Did finishing up last season kind of give them a taste of what it's like to win?
Well, I think it gave them a taste of how we want to do things, and that was really important. That the returners now have a sense of how we do things on the floor, how we walk through an airport, everything, how we treat people, how we interact with each other, and I think all those things were critical pieces of developing success. And now you got all these young kids, new kids, who are hopefully learning from those older guys.
3rd highest scoring team in Conference USA last season. And Jim, do you find teams really like to play that pace you're playing?
You know, I did a clinic on Sunday in Tampa, and I was talking about how everyone says they play fast, but to really play fast, it hurts. It's, I mean, if you're true to playing fast, it's a physical and mental drain on your body, and so our kids are learning what playing fast means like, but they all want to, in essence, and then once they kind of, feel their legs after a while, it's like, that's not so easy. But I think they're committed to it, and we're excited about it, and hopefully that'll be a style that we can play throughout the year.
When I watched tape of your game from last season, what really stood out to me was your rebounding, especially on the offensive side. Something you again have emphasized this year?
Yeah, I think kids do what you emphasize. They get good at what you think is important, and hitting the boards is obviously an important thing. We had some pretty good players who could do that for us. A lot of those guys are gone, so that we're going to have to replace those guys. But hitting the boards is very, very critical to what we want to do.
Give us names we better keep an eye on for this season.
Well, we have a couple of returners who I think are very important to us. Rakira Gabriel, our center, and Danielle Ford, our guard, 2 seniors. We have a transfer from Stetson, Micah Johnson, who the kid can score. She can flat out score. And then we have a couple of freshmen who I really like a lot. A couple of kids that I didn't think were going to help us a lot. Juliette Gauthier from Montreal has turned out to be a really smart, heady kid who's going to contribute, I think, a great deal. And we have a couple of freshmen who I think are going to help us who are kind of hurt right now. But Glenisha Harkless from Jacksonville is a really talented big guard, I think, is going to be a big part of things, and Jayla Adams, a point guard from Daytona Beach. So I'm excited about the future.
I want to talk about Ford because I always like players that average good numbers. She averaged almost 5 assists a game, over 13 points a game. She was the only player in Conference USA this past season to average 10 points, 4 assists, 4.9 rebounds, and she was actually coming off a medical redshirt the year before. What have you challenged her to do this season to up those numbers?
Well, she's never played the point, so to throw her into our system and ask her to do that, I was really impressed with what she was able to do, and I'm hopeful that now with a year under her belt with me that she'll be able to feel more comfortable in what we're doing, and those numbers will improve. But the biggest thing I want from her is a little more leadership and to help guys kind of acclimate to how we play and what we do.
And now we turn our attention to the men. Dusty May, no stranger to Conference USA. He was on Mike White's staff at Louisiana Tech, also with Mike at Florida. Welcome to the conference again, I guess it would be. One of the things I was reading an article about you, and you talked about what Mike White has meant to you. And those of us that know him knew he's not only an outstanding coach, but an outstanding person. Your feelings about Mike White and what he's taught you?
He's one of my closest friends in the world. We still speak daily. I'm asking him questions every other day about practice, things we've done in the past, what worked for him, what hasn't worked, what was he thinking during the process. So he's been an invaluable resource as a mentor and also just a really close friend through all of this.
Only one starter returning. A lot of people would think that's bad, but when you're putting in a new system, and I think you have to transform your team to fit the running and the passing style you got. Is that a good thing you only have one starter returning?
I wish we had several returning starters that knew what we were doing and had proved that they've done it before. But excited about all the new faces and our youth and where we're going as a program. So we brought in 10 new players. So and the one returning starter has been great as far as showing the younger guys how to work.
One thing I'm impressed about it, and one of the stories I read, and you actually talked about it earlier, is you started pretty much from the ground up in your basketball career as video assistant. You were at Indiana. What did that teach you about every job that you see everybody works around you? Now that you're a head coach, do you appreciate those jobs more?
I do, and even walking over here, you think about all the steps you've had throughout your career, and it's a learning lesson for our guys because it's a long process, and you can't skip steps no matter what you're trying to do. So them as young players trying to develop, they want it all right now, especially the freshmen. And there are a lot of steps of just continuing to improve and then being focused on the journey.
One of the coaches I was talking to, who remained nameless, said you're the most unknown commodity in Conference USA with all the new players. Fair statement, do you think?
Very fair statement, yes. I think we need name tags some practices.
Is scoring and depth going to be a problem?
I think we have great parity. We have great depth. No, I don't think so. We have guys that can put the ball in the hole. It'd just be how well we gel as a unit and how well we can defend. I think we're going to be able to score. We have guys who've done it before in a different role, but I'm confident we'll be able to score some points.
Give us some names that we should watch for.
Jalen Ingram, the returning starter, is a potential double-double guy. He's interchangeable. He's versatile. Xavier Stapleton, who played for us at Louisiana Tech and then transferred to Mississippi State as a grad transfer. He'll be a unique talent for this league. A couple freshmen, Mike Forrest, a local kid who's sensational. He'll be a 4-year starter for us most likely. Jalen Sabri out of IMG Academy is a versatile scorer. So we have some guys who can put the ball in the hole. We might be more challenged defensively early.
Jalen Ingram, he was the only starter back. He played 30 of 31 games, averaged just under 9 points a game, was a highly touted football player actually. Is he one of those players that can play several positions?
I think so. At times we'll play him at the 3, at times we'll play him at the 4 and the 5, and we've actually used him some as a backup point guard against presses. So he's a unique player where he's a Swiss Army knife and can play all over the floor. So very, very thankful to inherit him.
You mentioned the graduate transfer from Mississippi State, Stapleton. Does he have to assume a leadership role?
He does. He's been a great leader, and he's been through some fires. He's played at a high level. Mississippi State was very, very talented, well coached, and he's won a championship in this league, so he knows what it takes. So he's been really, really big as far as working with the younger guys and teaching them how hard it is to be good.
What attracted you to this job?
Long story. Brian White, our athletic director, was with us at Louisiana Tech, so he traveled with us. He was with the program every day, and we had a great relationship. And then obviously just with the White family, when the job came open, I loved being at Florida so much. I wasn't sure that I wanted to leave, but when this one came open, I jumped at it, and it happened quick, and it's been a blur since. So, but mainly years of relationship building.
I talk to new coaches, and the one thing every coach tells me is when you move over that seat, all of a sudden you're making the timeouts. There's so many things that go along with it, time management being one. Has that been something you've had to learn a little more than what you did as an assistant?
Definitely, and as an assistant, when you work for great head coaches, they're always challenging you and preparing you to think like a head coach. So the biggest thing is probably decision fatigue. There's so many decisions to make. I don't even want to decide what to have for lunch anymore. That's been the biggest adjustment.
Jim, I've asked all the women's coaches in Conference USA this question. Do you think Conference USA women get the respect they deserve? When you look at teams like Rice, like UAB, like Western Kentucky, like Middle Tennessee, right down the list, does this conference get the respect that you think they should get?
I don't really think so. I said earlier today, I think we have some great coaches in our league, and there's some really fine players. And you see people like, Charlotte, Louisiana Tech. There's some people that are starting to make moves. Old Dominion is, invested in a new coach. They're going to get better and better. So the league is improving, but those 4 or 5 teams you mentioned, they're really strong teams, and we need to go out and prove it. We need to play at a conference
Right.
and win games, but I think it's a fine league, and we have to help ourselves gain a little more respect nationally.
Dusty, one final question for you. I look at your schedule. Miami, Illinois, both on the road. You go to the Bahamas. How soon before Florida comes and plays you guys? Can you talk Mike into doing this?
We're trying to play them in the Orange Bowl Classic right down the street.
There
from
you
our
go.
Arena. But yeah, Miami's actually going to play at our place in year 3. So very, very thankful to get a Power 5 to come to our gym.
Welcome to the conference. Welcome back,
Thank
I
you.
guess
It's
I
great to
should
be
say.
here.
Jim, always good to see you. We'll be back with Conference USA Media Day in a moment.